We are not just trying to win an election. We are trying to fundamentally change our politics. And it's working. The number of young people who showed up to vote in this election is unprecedented.
Yeah.
The number of Texans who have never voted before but showed up in this election is unprecedented. The number of independents and Republicans who voted in this Democratic primary is unprecedented. This is proof that there is something happening in Texas. Tonight, the people of our state gave this country a little bit of hope. And a little bit of hope is a dangerous thing. I want to thank y'all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in this fight. God bless y'all. Thank you.
Texas Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate, James Talarico, from his watch party in East Austin last night. It's Wednesday, March 4th, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch. Rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Here at Progress Texas, we've built a statewide audience. We reach millions of Texans monthly, and that's thanks to folks like you who invest in independent progressive media by Texans for Texans. Thanks so much to Christine Huber, Morgan Daniels, and Krista Varney for their ongoing sustaining support. Quite a night across Texas as Democratic voters have chosen their nominees in a bunch, but not all of the races for the 2026 midterm election, and not without what appears a Republican scheme to make the situation for the Democrats as difficult and divisive as it can possibly be. Top of the list, that U.S. Senate race, which has gone to Austin area State Rep James Talarico. The Texas Tribune election stats page at present showing about 91% of votes cast. Talarico's edge over Dallas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, 52.9 to 45.7%, just over 7 points, and by the current count, a difference of about 160,000 votes. The Associated Press goes into detail about the shenanigans at the hands of Republican operatives that threaten even now to preserve the inter-party division that, at least online, has been a feature of this marquee race. Voting was extended by judges in Dallas and Williamson counties after boatloads of voters reported being turned away and directed to different voting precincts because of the situation we've discussed on this podcast feed with both Dallas County Democratic Party Chair Cardall Coleman and his Williamson County counterpart Kim Gilby, in which those counties' Republican parties have insisted on separate primary elections, thus requiring Election Day voters to appear at their designated voting locations rather than county-wide options that most of us here in Texas are accustomed to. Later in the evening, the Texas Attorney General's office, still of course led by Republican Senate candidate Ken Paxton, challenged the Dallas decision to keep the polls open longer and convinced the Texas Supreme Court, also dominated by Republicans, to rule that ballots cast by Dallas County voters not in line by 7 p.m. should be separated from others and not immediately counted. It remains, as of this morning, unclear how many Dallas voters have been disenfranchised here and how many eligible ballots remain to be counted in Dallas County. We hate to be an I told you so, but we quite literally told you so, and all this chaos, in our view, was the end goal of all of this Republican meddling in a deep blue major Texas city. Congresswoman Crockett has graciously conceded the race. We're learning via Politico reporting this morning. She says, quote, "This morning I called James and congratulated him on becoming the Senate nominee. Texas is primed to turn blue, and we must remain united because this is bigger than any one person. This is about the future of all 30 million Texans and getting America back on track," unquote. And thank you, Congresswoman Crockett, for that very true and important statement. Texas Democrats now have 8 short months to solidify their internal unity and convince the voters of Texas that they offer a superior option to the chaos that has become central to Republican governance across Texas and across the nation. Let's move on to the other big races across the state, a bunch of them to talk about, and certainly tops there a convincing and decisive win for Austin State Rep Gina Hinojosa, who escapes a runoff despite facing almost enough challengers to form a baseball team, 59% of the vote, and over 1 million votes more than runner-up Chris Bell. Congratulations, inspiration, and unity overflowing in that race. In the Democratic contest for Attorney General, a final result that shows the high degree of fallibility present in even the most well-done political polling, as Dallas State Senator Nathan Johnson nearly escapes a runoff with 47.9% of the nearly complete count, topping former Galveston Mayor Joe Jaworski by a little over 400,000 votes, while Jaworski barely eked out a second-place finish over third-placer Tony Box, about 26,000 votes, and just a single percentage point keeps Jaworski in the AG race runoff. And this race is definitely one in which this Ken Paxton Supreme Court interference could end up a factor, as one wonders if there might be 42,519 Nathan Johnson votes sitting in a box somewhere in Dallas this morning. For state comptroller, a decisive win for Austin State Senator and Progress Texas endorsee Sarah Eckhart, 64.3%, and an almost 1 million vote advantage over both of her challengers, Savant Moore and Michael Lang. For Lieutenant Governor, another runoff, and just barely. Austin State Rep and Progress Texas endorsee Vicki Goodwin ends up with 48.1%. She will face Houston area union leader Marcus Velez in a runoff as he pulls 31.5%, about 340,000 votes separating the two. And the Democrats have a nominee for land commissioner. Bay City City Councilman Ben Flores takes it with 55.6% over Texas Panhandle union leader Jose Loya. We'll be talking about the races for the U.S. House and the Texas legislature for months, and I don't have time to get to all of these very important races in this very short update, but here are a few highlights from that level of the game. One of the more epic runoff situations emerges in Houston's Congressional District 18, redrawn to pack black Democrats together in the Trump-ordered and Greg Abbott-delivered redistricting scam, as freshly elected Congressman Christian Menifee and longtime Houston Congressman Al Green go to a runoff in what couldn't be a more stark generational contest, less than 2 percentage points between them. Also likely epic, the House District 33 runoff between former Congressman Colin Allred and sitting CD32 Congresswoman Julie Johnson, who was drawn into the district last year. Allred comes out ahead by 11 points and over 6,000 votes, but doesn't quite make 50%. Dallas pastor and community leader Frederick Haynes easily grabs the nomination to succeed Congresswoman Crockett in House District 30, over 72% of the vote there. Tejano star Bobby Polito has won the U.S. House District 15 race in the RGV over the very impressive healthcare veteran Ada Cuellar. Bobby Polito versus Republican Monica De La Cruz will be one of the top-billed and most intensely targeted races for the rest of the year for both parties. Our friend Laura Jones has won a fourth shot at U.S. House District 8 in Southeast Texas. Her longtime nemesis, Republican Morgan Luttrell, is stepping aside, so her opponent in November will be Mega MAGA Jessica Hart Steinman of the ultra-conservative think tank the America First Policy Institute, and both the Donald Trump and Ted Cruz machines. The Democrat who might end up running against the scandal-embroiled Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez in House District 23 in West Texas is Katie Padilla Stout, who escapes a field of four without a runoff at 52.3%. We featured Katie as part of a forum of those four candidates a few weeks ago, and we plan to have her back on solo soon. The reason I say she might face Gonzalez is he's in a runoff himself with Brandon the AK guy Herrera, who got almost 1,000 more votes than the incumbent did. That's going to be one to watch as well. Another friend of Progress Texas also scores the nomination in House District 21. That's Dr. Kristen Hook, who found herself unable to stay on the sidelines and now finds herself in her second consecutive run for Congress in a race that gains publicity, as the Republican replacing Chip Roy there is former Major League Baseball player Mark Teixeira, a big fan of Donald Trump's ICE crackdown, the destruction of DEI, and Elon Musk's Doge chainsaw. Progress Texas endorsee Kevin Burge comes this close to winning outright, but not quite. He's in a runoff in the suburban DFW House District 24 against fellow Marine Corps veteran TJ Ware to take on MAGA darling Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne. And finally, for now, Central Texas attorney and former public affairs counsel for the State Bar of Texas, Claire Reynolds, wins the nomination for the massive House District 11, which includes the Permian Basin and stretches from San Angelo to Lampasas. She's up against Republican August Pfluger, who's running for his fourth term. So much to say, so much to do, but I'm going back to bed now. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Our mission at Progress Texas is to improve and save Texans' lives by acting on our shared bold progressive values, and that starts with countering the billionaire and corporate-funded conservative disinformation machine. Progress Texas is an independent, nonprofit, rapid response media organization. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks for listening. Have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning.